Your husband wanted you. You ran from his ass. So it's shit that happens. And we ain't got time for this dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad y'all's situation worked out. But this shit be happening in real life. Real life. And the shit is annoying and it's sad.
Well, I say go
Hey,
with
let go.
like who like you. But I think it's on both ends. I think it's, men are scared to be with women and women are scared to be with the men just because of what social media has become. There are no figures in the actual media that, back in the day, people used to look up to certain TV shows and certain, married couples and family dynamics. There is none of that anymore. And so the family unit is not something to be adored anymore. It's almost like a lost art nowadays.
Yeah.
So I think men are scared to be with women and women are scared to be with men. And sometimes I love having these conversations, but sometimes these conversations really don't help nobody. They really don't. I would love to say that they do, but I believe sometimes that they just don't, because it's a lot of and he this and she that, and it's like, the
Until
it makes the division even wider. It makes the gap even bigger between men and women. And if you say that you want to be in a relationship, you say that you want to be married, you say all these things, it's like, why do you come to platforms to tear down the opposite sex? If we're not
right,
learning, understanding, then what are we doing?
But
Like,
this
right.
is
Hey,
one,
hey, let
just
go real
speaking
quick,
for
real
myself.
quick.
This is the reason why I do what I do as far as coaching women, because there's a huge issue. And instead of just being on social media talking about it, I do whatever it is I can do for my community to help women understand men and put people in a position where they can actually get away from being afraid of the opposite sex. So I agree, because it is when women and men being afraid of each other.
So what do you coach though? What do you tell the women to do?
I don't
You
tell
tell them
them to
stop
do anything.
being stupid and tell them they big head
Like
kids. And what do you say?
what's your top 3 advice you give the women when you coach them?
I don't give them advice in particular. We have conversations with the books that we go over, and we have conversations over the books. Because overall, I'm not a guru. I'm not the person that's just going to have all the answers. I facilitate a safe place for the women to actually ask questions and have these tough conversations about childhood trauma. Because the thing about it is, it's
You ain't
not,
facilitate no
hold
damn
on,
safe
hold on,
place.
I
it's
don't
not,
feel safe. You know what
hold
I'm
on,
saying?
y'all. Hold on, it's not cut and dry. All these things. The reason why she said what she said in that video, it's not just cut and dry. It's rooted in childhood trauma. All of this shit is rooted in childhood trauma. So me just giving a woman advice, that's just bullshit. It's about understanding where the issue is actually coming from, and is always, not sometimes, always rooted in something that we either dealt with or something that we did not get in our childhood. So no, it ain't no, hey, do this, because that's not what it's about. It's about unraveling all of the fucking cord and find out what the hell happened when you were young. Is a book called What Happened to You. It's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you. So that's what I actually do.
The
What
best way
happened
to
All
to
right,
that
so
boy?
hey, real quick. Let go. I understand that that's your homegirl, Stormy P, but I'm just going to
Mhm.
tell you, she's going to be single for a very long time, or just have really horribly functioning relationships, because I've watched her give out ridiculous advice on a regular basis based on
Yes.
a lot of her terrible experiences. And you're onto something when you say the trauma, but I think
Yes,
a lot
trauma.
of it is based on just past relationships, probably some in her childhood, which led her to the bad relationships. But
Mhm.
a lot of this is coming from her other experiences. And a lot of women tonight mentioned the D word, discernment. And she obviously does not have it. If you feel like you need to base what this man is doing based on a relationship from before, that's probably happened to her. To me, it sounded like she was explaining something that she's already experienced. Somebody may have started out love bombing her, and then now anytime somebody does that, she's like, oh, wait, but this is just what, like Sweeney said, men do. We all do it, right? And it's all relative too. You can't say that, okay, this guy gave me too much, because that's what women ask for. We're taught as we're young what women are: sugar, spice, everything that's nice. You're taught to be chivalrous. You're taught to take care of a woman. And then we go ahead and do that until we get burnt by a few women and we're jaded. And that's a problem. But this is what women actually ask for. It may not be what all women respond to the way that you would expect them to, but this is what they ask for. If you ask a woman what she wants, she's going to say she wants somebody to take care of her. She wants somebody to take her out. She wants somebody to be nice to her. She wants somebody to buy her things. She wants somebody to provide, like we were talking about tonight. And then now when we do that, it's like, oh no, he's love bombing because some dude that was a jerk before.
But that's why
whatever you want to call him.
But that's why we aren't supposed to actually listen to what women want, because women are children.
Oh, and I don't.
They want.
But before you go,
I know that.
Let's go a little deeper, right?
Go by what a woman wants. She don't know.
I was about to.
That is right. Like what Trev is saying, he's right. This is not only what women are saying, right? And you guys are following directions. This is also what we have been socialized to think in regards to dating. On the first date, you're supposed to bring me something. Typically, the universal language of you extending the offer is a flower or flowers. That's what it used to be. And we're talking courtship. So anytime you're coming to her, you're coming to get her, you're already giving her something. You're gifting her. And regardless of what that gift is, now it's been a lot more expansive. Now you have women saying, I don't like flowers. Used to be flowers and chocolate. Bring us some candy. Flowers and chocolate. It was always Valentine's Day when you're initially dating somebody, because that's what we was conditioned to do. But now you're starting to see that when you take out the actual rules of real dating and people start just doing whatever the fuck they want to do, you end up in situations like this.
And Stormy has dealt with some trauma or whatever. So I agree with you, Trev. And that's the reason why I brought that up. A lot of these women, the majority of women, they've dealt with so much trauma where actually being with a man is the scariest shit that they can ever do. So they just be acting like they want to be in a relationship. They want to act like when they did all the other. That's why the typical black woman would say, "Oh, I've been I've been engaged 3 times." Women, they get engaged 10 times, but their ass ain't gonna get married.
Yeah, but if you're bragging about being an engagement queen, right? What are you bragging about? Are you bragging about the fact that you're the biggest pump faker in history, or are you bragging about the fact that you failed every single time? Which one are you bragging about?
It makes them feel like, well, somebody wanted me, I just didn't want them. But it's just stupid.
But execution, you failed each
but
time.
I think what Miss Precious had said when she mentioned how both sides have dealt with trauma, so the vicious cycle continues. If you don't do any internal work before you start dating, you have the potentiality to over love bomb in a negative way or hurt somebody using it. I'm gonna trap her, I'm gonna do that. And then women can do the same thing. We can get in a relationship and spoil it because we didn't take time to heal ourselves before getting into that relationship. Now you're going to look at him like, I'm waiting for him to F up, and you're going to be setting yourself up and self-sabotaging. If you don't do any internal work, you have the potentiality to actually harm each other when you do get in a relationship. And then that person, if they were a good person prior to that relationship, is going to now be broken and now possibly start another vicious cycle if they choose to just go in a relationship instead of taking self-time to heal themselves. A lot of us, like me, I took off about 1.5 years, almost 2 years of not dating after being hurt, because I was hurt back to back twice, because I got in a relationship maybe 6, 7 months, 8 months later, and I didn't do any internal work, but I thought I did because I was alone. But there was a lot of work to be dealt with as far as, well, why did that happen? What can you do, moving forward? How do you make sure you're not bitter? If I don't do any internal work and I choose to get in a relationship, I'm just going to bring my baggage and all my bitterness, what happened to me, into that relationship. And I've talked to people and started like the dating process. And if they don't text me back, or, at a certain time, I used to get nervous because people would do little things, you know, when they would cheat or whatever, and they're not texting back after 10. They just text you, they say good night, but they online, little stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm not ready to date yet because that's a little triggering for me. So I would notice things and I wouldn't put myself in that situation of a long-term commitment until I was ready. But if we just get in a relationship just to stay in a relationship or because we want to be in love, you could just damage somebody if you're not choosing to, you know, get yourself together first and just, oh, I want to be married one day, so I'm gonna just date. Take some time to marry and love yourself and then figure out what you really want, set your boundaries up, and then I think you can be with somebody else and it can actually be healthy. And yeah, you might be fearful in the beginning because I can say that I might have been scared of being in a relationship in a sense because I don't want to be hurt again. But you have to deal with that. And if you're afraid, then you should not date.